5 developers will make a video game together, but there's a twist. No communication between them is allowed. Each developer gets a couple hours to make progress on the project before passing on to the next developer. The end result on these is always impressive and surprising. We've created a god simulator, a titan smashing boss battle, and a superhero that can soar through the sky. So what will we make this time around? This is a special double cycle edition, meaning that all devs get 4 hours, and then the cycle repeats itself with all devs getting an extra 4 hours. So let's begin with developer number 1.
Hi, I'm TheShelfman and I get to start off this adventure. After a while of contemplating life, I remembered a game idea I had a while ago, but never really got around to making. It's small, could definitely be expanded, and sounds just crazy enough for it to work. Vampire Survivors meets farming game. You'll see what I mean. So I made a player controller and a camera that would follow the player. I added a simple grid system, which I've now gotten weirdly good at, and allowed the player to place seeds, which would soon grow to become plants. Obviously, Vampire Survivors has combat, but I made it a little more active in this game, where you actually have to click the enemies for them to die. Exciting gameplay. I can barely contain myself. They also spawn at the same place compared to the player every single time, but that's a problem for whoever decides to go next. I am so sorry about that, I think. To finish off my time for now, I added an inventory system and an upgrade shop. So now when you kill an enemy, you get a seed. You have to plant that seed and wait for it to grow. When it does, you can harvest it and it'll give you gold. That gold can then be used to buy upgrades like more attack power or attack range or any of the other things you can see on screen. But be careful, cause the enemies follow you around to try and kill you, and if they touch one of your farm plots, it'll be destroyed. Can you tell I like farming games? Anyway, that's it for me. Good luck to the next person.
Hello, I'm Rugbug. I run a YouTube channel where I make tutorial videos, and I have a game on Steam. The first thing I did was make all the enemies have the same amount of health, which made killing them feel more consistent. I wanted to give the game a strong identity, which would help inform the decisions I made, so I decided on a theme. The red squares would be fire, which were trying to burn your crops, and you would be a farmer trying to protect them. Since you killed the fire by holding your mouse over it, it kind of fell into place that you would use water to put out the fire. After I implemented that, it felt wrong that I couldn't water the plants to make them grow. So I swapped out the growing over time mechanic for growing when watered, which also introduced an interesting balance between fighting enemies and growing your farm. It was really satisfying to have a strong core mechanic of using water for multiple functions. It felt bad to have to destroy my own crops to get gold, so I decided to scrap the crop destruction mechanic and just make them produce gold over time. I modified the enemy AI to also target the crops, and changed the spawning system so that the fire always spawned a set distance away from the crops or the player. To finish it off, I added a shop with a sprinkler in it which you could use to defend your crops. And that's it for me.
Okay, fantastic. Now, before we continue this wild game dev journey, quick pause to announce that we are creating a massive course called the Game Dev Rockets. So if you've always wanted to learn how to make and sell your first games, we'll show you how. It's a completely project-based course with over 30 hours of content, guest instructors who are experts in their fields, a VIP Discord community, and hundreds of tutorials on how to code in C#, use the Unity game engine, and draw and animate characters. Sign up for regular news and updates over on GameDevRocket.com.
Howdy, I'm Phibian. Somehow, the 2 devs before me have already made a whole functioning game loop, so when I got the project, I immediately started looking for things to polish and improve. And even this early, I was having a hard time figuring out how to make my mark on the game. What to do... Oh. No shade on whoever drew the fantastic art, but I wanted to leave a visual mark on this game, and the best way to do so was replacing all of the art. I did this because the MS Paint aesthetic isn't my favorite, and because I'm an egotistical maniac, so I got straight to work on designing a new player character using a color palette I found on Lowspec. Due to the growing flowers theme, I decided to make him a little farmer guy. Then I added directional sprites and animations. After implementing the player animations, I moved on to the other sprites like the watering can, water droplets, and soil, which I also enhanced the edges of using a particle system. Next was some bouncy plants, spinning coins, a color change for player visibility, health bar improvements, fire sprites, sprinkler sprites, and UI cleanup, and I was feeling pretty good about the direction the game was taking. But that's it for me in round 1. See ya.
Hello, my name is Gerard. I'm a Unity nerd and the creator of these assets here, and we'll be improving the game. Let's go. The first thing I want to avoid is fires getting on top of each other, so I just added colliders to them. I then worked on the health bars, and now you have some nice hit stops, some shakes, and the same happens with the fires. I didn't like how the water mechanic felt, so now we leave some puddles behind, both with the water can and the player. This water can be used to stop the fire and kill it basically, and also you can water plants with this. To be consistent with this new theme, I'll use all-in-one shader to change the look of the player, and we now have a water character. I wanted to work on enemies, but I have no time left, so I added some more polish with all-in-one shader and all-in-one VFX. Let's see how the game feels. I said I would break it, right? See you in the next round.
Hey everyone, Noah here. Quick pause to thank you all for the great support in the previous video. Surgery went really well and I'm back in action. So my mission was to expand upon this awesome concept which the previous devs had concocted. I love the dual purpose design going on here and how water is used as both a weapon and a resource building tool. I began by adding a score which increases whenever you extinguish a fire. From there I made a new fat enemy which has more health. And this angry creature which, if not watered down in time, will explode into a bunch of ultra fast fire critters. I tried keeping in line with the pixel art style, which was an interesting challenge in itself. I created the death flower, which spawns a massive puddle of water when destroyed, and this golden flower that drastically increases your score over time. This way the player has a couple interesting choices to make and priorities to establish. Should he build protective death flower, resource producing daisies, or make high score boosting gold flowers? Finally, I wrapped up my first 4 hours by adding some sound effects and a nice ambient soundtrack. With that done, things are going to get extra intense and exciting with cycle number 2, where each dev gets another 4 hours to work on the game.
And I'm back! I should probably go see if they massacred my boy. Oh my god, yes. Wait. What happened? I'm not sure what is happening. There's lots of noises. There's lots of enemies spawning. I died. Okay, I'm very confused. No, don't you dare come close. Okay, I think I died, but that's okay. Okay, that was really cool, and I'm honestly blown away by what it has become already. But I also know that the thing I'll be doing for my second sprint is balancing. The game is in dire need of good balance. Enemies were challenging, which isn't necessarily bad, but it was almost undoable right from the beginning. So now they start off easier, which in this case means that the time between enemies spawning is increased a bit. I've also changed their attack damage as well as the player's health, which I almost immediately decreased again because dying became a rare thing you'd forget could happen. And now the damage upgrades also have a bit of an effect on the enemy spawn rate and damage, so you don't become too overpowered. Balancing is hard. But that is not all I did. I also did exciting quality of life updates. My creative juices are empty. Basically, I give the items shown here a description when you select them because I had no idea what any of them did when I first started playing. I also made it so you no longer have to touch the gold with your mouse to pick it up. My aim in shooter games is terrible enough and it's no better here. Now you can either hover over it to pick it up like you did before or walk close to it and automatically pick it up. And finally, you can now change the selected item using the number buttons on your keyboard as well, and there's a pause menu and better navigation for all the menus. All in all, not very exciting, but I almost feel useful. Bye!
My first reaction to the game was being blown away by the art. Thank you so much for replacing my garbage. I spent a while messing around and enjoying all the new sound effects and polish. Killing enemies feels really satisfying now. From the time I spent messing around, I identified a few issues with the game. Firstly, the core feature of the game, planting crops and growing your farm, was not the most optimal way to play. The game didn't reward that playstyle at all, and you could just completely ignore it. To fix this, I made the player lose when their last crop was destroyed. This was a simple change, but it completely changed the way that you played, requiring you to center your defenses around your farm instead of being able to roam freely. The second thing is that the game started off way too hard. If you tried to grow a crop, it would die instantly. High-level enemies could spawn in the first few seconds and just wipe out your entire farm. To fix this, I implemented a new spawning system, which spawned harder enemies later into the game, as well as slowly ramping up enemy spawn speed over time. The third issue was that upgrades weren't tied into the game well. It felt like a side feature and wasn't as close to the core of the game as I wanted. I took inspiration from Vampire Survivors and implemented an XP bar which charged up when you earned XP. Whenever you leveled up, you got to pick an upgrade. This made upgrades way more tied to the core of the game and made getting XP more rewarding.
Hey, I'm Phibian. Again. Whoa, was my initial reaction to seeing just how far the game had gotten since I'd last seen it. For my second round, I really wanted to leave an impact on the game beyond just visuals. So naturally, I started by focusing all of my time on visuals. There was already art in place for a lot of the newer content, but it clashed stylistically with the stuff that was there from my first round. I didn't want to infringe too much on the art the other devs had added, so I just made the resolution and coloring consistent, but kept the designs mostly the same. Following the new flower sprites, I made a pixel art sprite for the crosshair and also added a mouse cursor for the menus. Menus. Oh shoot, menus. Somehow in all the time looking for ways to improve the game, it slipped my mind that there was no main menu, so I set out to make it. But I'd already forced my visuals onto every aspect of the game, and I figured the menu would be a great place for someone else to express themselves. Lastly, I made the death flower explode when killed and added a drip flower that spawns water instead. I also swapped the score flower sprite to the normal flower, now called the gold flower since it spawns coins. With that and a load of bug fixes, my time was up. See ya.
Round 2. I decided I would focus on polish, so first I laid some easy outlines here and also here in the cursor. The cursor has some twins and there are some minor changes to the drip plant and the sprinkler. I then focused on enemy polish, so first I did some basic explosions that all of them share, including a variant for blue explosion. There's a great animation for when the boomer explodes, made with bits and pieces of VFX Toolkit. And also a quick water explosion for the death plant. Big enemies now won't die when stepping on plants, and plants have a new death particle system. Regular enemies won't die either if the plant isn't fully grown. During my final hour, I made UI more interactive and usable, and now we can use both the scroll wheel of the mouse and the keyboard to move through the different plants. And also worked on the level up polish. That's all from me. Check out my assets here, make games, and see ya!
Alright, so I'm the final dev, absolutely blown away with how juicy and fun the game already is, so I'm going to focus on the one main thing that is missing, and that's an end game. Before that though, I recreated the art for the giant tank enemy, made a fire centipede, and added some trees around the map so it feels a little less empty. I only have a handful of hours, so I quickly got to work on a strange horror, which will be the game's final boss. To defeat this abomination, the player will need to grow blue boss layer plants, which will shoot powerful water beams. These plants cost a lot of gold, and you'll need at least a couple to succeed, which adds a nice layer of challenge and resource management. You've got about 8 minutes to build a solid base, boost your score, and grow boss layers before the fiery boss spawns in. I made a simplistic victory screen which displays your score and high score, and this should push players to play more risky and grow a large amount of score plants to beat their high score. Finally, I did a bit of playtesting and had Liam give the game a try so I could balance the difficulty.
What do we got? We've got gold flower, drip flower,
death flower, score flower, and sprinkler boss layer.
Whoa. Oh, look at that. We've got XP and is that time till there's a boss? Oh no. Ooh. I like that. Water damage. I need help. I need lots of help.
There's a timer in the top left. I wonder what that is. No! Oh, is that a boss? Jeez, that thing was massive.
What is that?
I can't see! 67,000. Sick.
You can play Water Wars for free using the link in the description, and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more. Also remember to sign up to our brand new mega course, the Game Dev Rocket, if you also want to learn how to create and sell your very own video games. Okay, see you real soon. Cheers.